Good morning, everyone. My name is Scott Morris. I'm the Director of Business Development for Gaming for GTS Distribution, and welcome back to another one of our Publisher to Retailer webinars. Today, we are joined by Rainer and Irek, who are from Board and Dice. Rainer is the US representative, and Irek is actually in Poland right now as we speak. And he's one of the owners of the company. And you may remember them. Last year, we had a huge hit with them with Teotihuacan. And we've had multiple games come out from their line, and we're going to talk about a couple of them today. There's some new ones we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about a new one called Traintopia, which has a couple of really cool programs put around it. We're also going to talk a little bit about the Escape Tales line, which is now coming up to its third release, which is really awesome as well. And another expansion for Teotihuacan and more, which is all really, really good stuff. One of the things that I've been really happy with as the way that Board and Dice has kind of approached the hobby market is that they have a plan for an entire year in terms of the types of games that they're going to release during different times of the years. You know, maybe like heavier strategy games at Essen time frame, maybe more broadly approachable games earlier on in the beginning of the year leading into summer sales and things like that. So they take a very thoughtful approach as to how to work with the market and provide products that are not just good, but are timed well for you to be able to make as maximize sales as you can from a retail perspective, which is really, really cool. So with that, I will let everybody know, as I always say, everything's on the table. You're welcome to ask any kind of questions you like. It's really easy to ask a question. If you hover over your video window, there's a little chat bubble at the bottom. You can click on that and you can send a message to either all the panelists, which are myself, Irek, Rainer, Jessica, our sales director, or you can send it to all panelists and attendees, which will go to everybody. Rainer, Irek, you don't need to worry about messing around with the chat window. If you want to, you're more than welcome to, but that's kind of partly on me. I'll moderate that, make sure everything comes through, and if people have questions, I'll work them into the conversation. So
I would love to do that, but my computer just went down, and I'm.
Oh, well, you're still here, and I can see.
So my mobile, yeah, exactly. So I will try to answer all the questions, but I will do that here.
No worries. Okay, awesome. All right. Well, with that, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to be quiet. I'm going to let Board and Dice take over. I don't know, Rainer, if you're going to start, or Irek, if you're going to start, but whoever would like to begin chatting, by all means, fire it up.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for coming today, and we have prepared a presentation here to show you some of the things that Scott was talking about, and just to talk briefly about the games that we have coming up during the year. So let's start with this. So this is basically our publishing plan for the year. This shows you the releases that we have planned in the order that they would be released. So first we have planned for February 20th, the expansion, second expansion for Teotihuacan. And this is a smaller expansion for the game, and we will talk about what comes in that on a different slide, but that's planned here real shortly. Then we have in June, so around the Origins timeframe, the release for Traintopia that is planned. And that was also what Scott was referring to when he was talking about a special offer that we have prepared for you, and we will discuss that also here shortly. One of the things that we do is, so we typically do some of the lighter games like Traintopia, or for that matter, an expansion. We do those in the first half of the year, and then the second half of the year, we are reserved for the heavier strategy type games. So we will have Tekhenu come out at around Gen Con. And I should also mention that when we do the release schedule, even though all of these, you will see there's a reference to a convention, we're talking here about global releases. So even though the convention timeframe is the one that kind of sets the schedule as far as what time of year or the precise dates that we do the releases, these are all global releases, so that you will have access to all of this at or before that date.
Yeah, exactly. I want to highlight that very much, Rainer, because some time ago we splitted the releases. So basically, when we merged Board and Dice with NSKN Games, we had a time when we need to split a little bit the releases. So basically, part of the games were released, for example, during Xitle, and they were available in the US after 3 weeks. Right now, we have managed to work with our partners in the way which gives us a chance to do a global release at the same time in North America, in Europe, and also in the rest of the world.
Correct. And that's especially important when we are talking about the two releases that are planned for the Essen Spiel Fair 2020. The third game in the Escape Tales line, Children of Wormwoods, and then also another strategy game, Teotihuacan, which we don't have artwork for yet, but we will. There will be more information shared about that eventually. Now, as far as the games that we have planned, so let's talk about the expansion for Teotihuacan. So, like Scott mentioned, this was a game from 2018, so it came on the tail end of the year, and it was very successful for us and for GTS, and hopefully for all of you as well. Last year, we had during the summer, we had the first expansion, Late Pre-Classic Period, that came out, which basically expanded the game, gave multiple options and so forth. This expansion here is a smaller expansion, and it basically provides some of the things that fans of the game have been eager to see in expansion form. So the bullet points here on the side, first of all, it's an expansion for a game that is both well-regarded and award-winning, both in the United States and also internationally. The options that it will provide, it provides new starting tiles, basically a 50% increase compared to what's in the base game, which will make the starting setup, give people more options for strategies at the beginning of the game. It also doubles the number of technology tiles that are provided in the game. The technologies help set a direction for players, which direction they want to go, give them added benefits when they perform certain actions and so forth. And this is one of the things that fans of the game have really been asking for, and we're happy to provide that. And that should greatly increase the value for them. It's also important to mention that both of these types of tiles, people can use them and integrate these with the game, whether they have the first expansion or not. So this is not contingent upon people having the first expansion, but this would easily be a first step for them to explore more options, even if they are not ready to get the other Late Pre-Classic Period expansion. Adds a lot of variability to the game, easily fits in the base game box, and has a low MSRP, which should help you to sell this, and which should also make it an easy decision for a customer to justify the purchase based on what it provides in terms of variability and options for the game.
And if you don't mind, Rainer, I'm just going to jump real quick on Teotihuacan there. I put some notes into the webinar chat, but just so everyone knows, the release date is actually this Thursday on the 20th, so this week. If you pre-order the game, should be shipping to you as we speak, or it's going to be shipping probably today or tomorrow in terms of how many ship days you are away from your warehouse. So if you pre-order the game for release, it should be in your hands or be there any day now. We do still have units available, so if anyone does want to put any late pre-orders in or additional stock ups or anything like that, by all means, definitely reach out. I also put in the the SKU numbers for the base game and for the pre-classic expansion as well into the chat if anybody needs to look those up.
Awesome.
And I will only add one fun fact, because the release date in the US is slightly earlier than in Europe, because we will release the games in Europe after Gamma Trade Show, Gamma Expo right now. And in the US, we can do that a little bit earlier this time.
Right, thank you. All right, so let's go to the next slide here. So this is Traintopia, which is a family-friendly, family-weight game, which also has quite a bit of strategy and depth to it. So it's something for the more casual gamer customers that you might have, but with also something that would give them options to explore, and as they are playing the game, there will be new things for them to explore and learn and have a deeper experience with it. The theme, as you can tell from both the name and the cover, is it's a train theme. Uses tile laying. So as you can see, some of the components here in the lower part of the screen. As the game is played over the course of 8 or 9 rounds, the players will be drafting different components. So it could either be tiles to expand their network, or there will be different types of commuters that are looking for certain districts that they want to get to. So as you can see on these tiles, there are different colored districts that different commuters are interested in. There are also different things for people to see. You have tourists, they want to see different attractions along the rail. There are mailbags and trains, the locomotives that will also increase the scoring. So during the round, you will draft these different elements. There will always be a number of tiles available, and then a varying number of other components. And people will take turns drafting these from the central gaming area. And depending on which pieces you take, they will then have their each unique way of how they score and affect the network that you are building. A very quick game. It plays 2 to 4 players. Play time of about 30 minutes. Easy to explain the rules. Basically, what I've explained right now, those are the full rules for the game, and that's also contained on the back of the box. We like for these this weight of game that are more towards casual gamers and family, a family weight of game. We like to put the rules on the back of the box, basically describing exactly how the game is played so that people know what they should expect based on what's coming in the box. And so this one has a June release date around the Origins timeframe. The MSRP on it is $40 as well. Now, let's talk about the other 2 that are coming out later in the year. And more information about this will be released, but we just want to give you a quick idea of exactly what these games are. So first, Teqenu. Following the success of Teotihuacan, so Teqenu is a co-design between the designer of Teotihuacan and another designer that is also well renowned and well respected within the industry. So Daniela Tassini and David Turczi have co-designed this. And as you can see from the cover here, this is an Egyptian themed game. It is a strategy game and it uses dice drafting, but it doesn't use dice drafting the way most people are familiar with when they're thinking about dice drafting. The game board, the central game board, is divided into 6 different sections, and each of them represent both an Egyptian god and also an action that is associated with that Egyptian god. So for example, one of them might be related to adding buildings around the temple grid on the board, or constructing pillars, producing different resources, and so forth. In the center of this section of the 6 different action areas, there's an obelisk. So there will be a large obelisk that will come with the game that will greatly improve and add value to the table presentation of the game. Now, as a game mechanism, there are 2 of the areas behind the obelisk that will be dark based on the shadow that the obelisk casts on the game board. 2 on the side that will be kind of a twilight shaded area, and then of course the ones in the front that will represent a sunny area. Depending on the colors of the dice and whether they are in the shadow or in the sun, they will be treated either as pure, tainted, or forbidden dice, and alter the way that the actions will work, and also alter the balance of the actions that you're taking. As the game progresses, the shadow will move, representing how the sun casts its shadow differently as it moves across the sky. And that will, again, continue to alter, even though the actions remain the same the way you take them, but the different dice that you're drafting will have a different impact on the game based on that. So this one, again, is planned for release around Gen Con, so late July, early August, with an MSRP of $60.
And the weight of the game is very close to Teotihuacan. I would compare it exactly. So basically, I can tell that this is the 2nd game in the line from Daniela Tassini in our publishing house, the 2nd game in the weight level of Teotihuacan. So it's a little bit different than Trismegistus. In my personal opinion, it's a little bit less heavier than Trismegistus. And I really would compare it to Teotihuacan.
And also, as we when we announced this game, it has been very well received by fans of Teotihuacan,
Yes.
people that have been looking at for the next release along that line from us. And it's also a game that we are continuing. We're going to continue, even though it doesn't release until Gen Con. Our plan is to support it during this time, to make sure that we show it off to different reviewers, to media. We will have early preview copies of this at the Gamma Expo and so forth, because we want to make sure that this receives as much attention as possible, that we can present this to as many people as possible, so that by the time of the release date, people will know what's in the game. They will have had a chance to see it. They will have had a chance to experience other people talking about it. There will have been video content released for it and so forth. So in addition to media partners that we work with, there will be, between now and the release date, various videos and presentations about it, teaching videos and everything, to make sure that people are very well aware of this game, which already is highly anticipated, but that way they can make a better informed decision about purchasing the game.
Yeah, basically we have a little bit, we have few changes about our approach to our games, and we really want to support retailers and our distributors to sell the game and to build the interest about the game in final consumers' heads. Because right now we have decreased the numbers of games we are releasing in 2020, and our marketing, our head of marketing right now is building the whole strategy of media exposure for the game. So I can really assure you guys that starting from Shadow of Xitle and finishing on the games which will have the release dates during Spiel, we will put a lot of effort to do the advertisement, starting from BGG and ending up on dedicated media for the market we want to reach with our titles.
It's also good to know, and I think I posted this in the chat, but just to make sure everybody knows, Tekhenu and Children of Wormwoods have not yet been solicited, so they're not set up in the system for pre-order just yet, because again, on the year, Tekhenu is going to be a Gen Con release, and then Children of Wormwoods will be more towards Essen Spiel. But as Irek and Rainer had mentioned, we are able to work with them and get those items in ahead of time from shipping, which is really good, so that they'll be releasing at the same time as the show, which is awesome. I would suspect, and guys, you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, I would suspect we will probably be setting Tekhenu up probably sometime after Gamma, but before Origins, of course. And then when we get more towards the summer time frame, we'll be setting up the Spiel titles as well.
Oh, you are fully correct, because I aim to give you more details about Tekhenu and Children of Wormwood even before Gen Con.
Sure. Derek has a really cool question. When you were describing Tekhenu and you were referring to the obelisk shadow, Rainer, is that the actual shadow that the obelisk in the game will cast, or is it something that's determined by gameplay in the game?
So it's based on, there will be basically a disc in the middle of this action area that is divided into 6 different spaces. Now, from the looks, so there will be an actual physical obelisk that stands in the middle of this, but then there will be a artistic representation, just so that it's always 2 sections that are in the dark, 2 that are in the sun, and 2 that are in shaded areas. So regardless of your lighting conditions, there will always be but it's representative of the shadow that an obelisk would cast onto the game board.
Very cool. Thank you.
So talking briefly about Children of Wormwoods. So we have this is now the 3rd game in the Escape Tales series. So we've had, and the plan is to have a new title in the series releasing every year in Q3, so basically around the Essen Spiel timeframe. The first 2, Escape Tales The Awakening and Escape Tales Low Memory, were both very successful. And one thing that is interesting to note, I mean, there are a lot of these escape room type games on the market. So just like some of the other ones, this is a story-driven escape room type game with lots of puzzles that are well integrated to both the theme and the story. Now this one, compared to some of the other ones, it has a longer time frame. So you can basically, if you were to sit and play through the whole game, we're looking at between 6 and 9 hours of gameplay. Now, obviously, no one is expected to sit and play through all that in one sitting. So the game has ways for you to be able to save it. Very easy. It just takes a minute to save it at that point. There's an app, and a web-based app that remembers your progress in the game and so forth. So there's absolutely no problem to pause the game, and there are several very logical points where you can pause the game and continue afterwards. Now, just to describe this particular one, so the theme of it is a dark fantasy setting, so as you can see from some of the artwork and stuff, which should also appeal to people that are maybe RPG gamers or those. So that's the setting that this particular title will have. As far as how to explain this to people when they're deciding, okay, which one should I get with the different offerings that are on the market of these escape room games, which one is for me? If you look at one of the so basically on the German market, Cosmos is our partner there, and they of course they have their own line of the exit type games. This represents kind of a next step in it. So if people are new to this and they just want to get a taste where they haven't played these games before, please by all means direct them towards a game like the Exit series, because they are much shorter, more contained. But then if they want a deeper and more expanded experience, something like Escape Tales might be a good next step for them. And that's basically what Cosmos does on the German market, is that they have their own Exit series games that they market, but then they're also selling Escape Tales under the Cosmos brand as that next step for that.
Yeah, basically, Cosmos is approaching Escape Tales as a comparison of puzzles plus story-driven games, because they basically have two lines, like Exit, and there is also one line based mostly on a story. And Escape Tales, they are treating this like a premium product which contains both. And even during our talks, they are calling it that this is story-driven puzzle experience.
Yeah.
So it's pretty awesome, and I really can tell you that this game is doing pretty well in Spain, also in Germany and the European market as well. So I really hope that the third part, which is, in my opinion, even longer than both of the games we already published, and it has a little bit different approach, because the decision you are making during the game closes some paths, because you are building your character. You are getting some items which can help you during the game, which has an influence on your character. And your decisions closes, if you are more a good person, some of the paths are close to reach.
And all of the games in the Escape Tales series, they're based on the fact that you will be faced with multiple decisions during the game.
Mm-hmm.
The path that you take, the choices that you make, have an impact on future experiences. So there are multiple. If we look at, for example, the previous one, Low Memory, there were 11 different endings in it. So there are multiple endings and ways for the game to end based on the decisions that you get to make during the game.
That's totally correct. And the new thing in Children of Wormwood is the ability to build your own character. So you can increase your stats, and it's a little bit different approach, but still the game is based on the story and on a very good puzzles.
Yep. All right, let's talk about the Traintopia pre-order offer that we have. So there are several different exciting things that we would like to provide. So first of all of you who are in attendance at the webinar today, you're going to receive a free demo copy of Traintopia, which will be sent out here very shortly. Maybe Scott, you can talk about that, the expectation of when they should receive these demo copies.
Sure. Oh, I thought you were wanting me to do it at the end. I'm sorry.
Well, either way works.
No, that's fine. Yeah, so these Traintopia is actually landing in the United States this week. It's on rails actually as I speak over to our warehouse. So anyone who's a GTS customer who is here live is going to be eligible to get a free copy of this. The really kind of important piece around this is I literally in the last at least 2 to 3 years cannot remember a time where a publisher allowed anyone to release a game ahead of the actual release of it. So to have as a demo ahead of your pre-orders being due or anything like that. So you will be able to get this in store ahead of time. And as Rainer had mentioned, it is a very family-friendly game, so it is very easy to pick up. I have not personally played a copy myself because we haven't gotten them yet, but I have read the rules and understand how everything works in the game, which is really cool. So yeah, everyone who is here live will, keep a record of that. And then once the games come in, hopefully by the end of this week or beginning of next week, we'll be able to get you that free demo copy out to your stores.
And the goal with this is really to make sure that you can have a copy to try out, to see the game, to feel it, even before the pre-orders are due, right? So even though this game does not release until June, we wanted to make sure that you can have early a copy on hand so that you can make the best decision for your store, being able to, if you have a demo library for your store, being able to put it there so that customers can see it, make pre-orders, and so forth. So that's why we wanted to make sure that early copies are available specifically for this purpose.
Yeah.
Now, as far as the pre-orders go, everyone who makes a pre-order by March 16th, so which will be just after the Gamma Expo, we will guarantee the quantities for all of these pre-orders. So if you place your pre-order between now and then, you will be getting those quantities will be reserved for you. Also, we will release Traintopia to brick and mortar stores 2 weeks ahead of the street date for everyone else. So this will make sure that you will be able to have the copies early on in your store. So the combination between having the free demo copy and being able to get the games early should be able to give you the best opportunity to sell it to your customers. Now we also have some plans for additional things to help promote the game and things for just for you to use as you see best. So basically, at the Gamma Expo, there will be a coupon in the coupon book. So if you're attending Gamma Expo, please come visit our booth, number 326, and we will have a promo pack for the game. It's basically 6 exclusive tiles that are not available anywhere else. You will get these tiles, so basically 1 for each copy in a case of the game, and we will just be happy to give this to you. So please stop by our booth for that. And you can use these promo tiles either as a way to reward people that make pre-orders or as an incentive to encourage people to either buy the game or to pre-order it. Now, what about those of you who are unable to attend the Gamma Expo? We will make sure that if you have your pre-order in by March 16th, that you will also be receiving these promo tiles.
Yeah, we know that not every one of you guys can visit Reno, and that some of you are working only. You are one-person company, and you are getting your store. You are working there, so basically, we want to gratitude also you. So we really don't want to cut any retailer for getting our promos. So I really hope that it will help you. Even to get more people attracted to the game, but still we did that early copies for Traintopia because we did some earlier prints for this small amount of copies to give you advantage and to give you a chance to know the product. So we are pretty sure about the game. We know that it's a proper Euro experience, but well, these are only words from our side, and we want to give you a chance to check it out before the official street date.
Yeah, and those are all like each individual thing I've seen other publishers do, but I haven't seen anyone wrap them all into one yet, which is really awesome. I was actually just trying to go back through some notes and trying to remember like how far ago it was that we had someone that was able to ship advanced copies for retailers to use to be able to then, you know, generate pre-orders using the demo copy in store. I think it goes all the way back to AEG's Doomtown, which was a while ago. I mean, that was several years ago. So it's really, really cool. And to your point about, you know, there are a very large amount of people that attend the GAMA Expo, of course, in Reno, but not everyone can get away and not everyone can get there. So yeah, we're happy to work with you guys to make sure that as long as you have, as a retailer, as long as you have your pre-orders in before March 16th, which will give you time if you are going to GAMA to be able to see it there live in person as well if you haven't gotten your demo copy yet. But plus the week after that to be able to get your orders in, then we'll be able to get you those promo packs even if you didn't attend the GAMA trade show itself, which is all really, really good stuff. So
I saw a question in the chat section if there will be some playable copies of Traintopia during GAMA trade show. Yes, there will be some copies. So if you want to check the game during the expo, you will be able to do that.
Awesome.
And you will be able to both see a demo of it. We will have it available at the booth, but we will also have a table during the game night on Wednesday. So the Wednesday of the expo, we will have a table there where we will be able to show off both Traintopia, but also if you want to take a look at some of the other games that are releasing here later that we have talked about as well.
There was a question from the last game that we were just talking about, and I think it's a really good one to talk about real quick. Derek had asked, are the Escape Tales games replayable or are the components consumed during gameplay? And obviously this is one of my favorite things about this line of games. I'll let you guys answer that.
So there's no destruction of components. If you can totally, so a good example might be, so let's say that in the first one, Escape Tales: The Awakening, you played through the game and it came to a conclusion that you were not really happy with. You were not satisfied with the outcome of the story. You can totally go back and start it over and play through it. So everything is in there. You have not destroyed any components or anything. Now, obviously, if you do that, you're going to see some of the same puzzles. You will see some of the same things, but you will be able to make different decisions. So there might be a very pivotal point in the game, for example, where you're asked to make a decision between one or two or maybe even multiple paths to take. The decision that you make from that point on has always had an impact on the rest of the game. So if you go back, depending on how early you make a pivotal change, now there might be ways that these paths interweave and you would see some of those things, but you have a chance to then affect the outcome. Obviously, because you've seen some of these puzzles, you'd be able to go through them more quickly than before, which also then enhances the replayability of the game, that if you're replaying it quickly after, the playtime is much, much shorter, so that you can go through and get a different experience without having to invest the same amount of time. Obviously, then if you wait a bit or you go through this game with a different group of people that have not played it before, you could then let them make some of these decisions, or maybe give them the opportunity to solve some of these puzzles that you already know, maybe just being there and giving hints to them as far as the solutions to it. But then jointly and together, you can make a different choice in the path and the direction that you take during the game than you did the first time. And this particular title, Children of Wormwoods, will have more of that than in the previous one. So there will be multiple different ways for you to make decisions that will not only affect the outcome of the game, but also the experience that you have during the game based on the impact that your decisions have on the character that you're building.
I like to give the example from PAX Unplugged 1 year ago when we released Escape Tales: The Awakening. We had a couple of people playing the game during the whole day in our booth. And at the end, they purchased, everyone in the table, then they purchased a copy of the game because they told that they really love it. And basically they feel that they want to play a little bit different. Plus they have some other crew and they will play the game with them. So as you can see here, the replayability value is pretty high. I like to say that you have 2 full game experience in the game. After that, as Rainer told, you will probably go through the reels a little bit faster and you will know some of the decisions, but you still can take other decisions which influence the gameplay. And what is super important, we really don't like destroying components in our games, so we avoid that as much as we can. And Escape Tales, this is the main and key factor, that we don't want to have any elements destroyed in this game.
All right. Then that basically wraps up the presentation that we had as far as the games that are coming out now. So this week with Shadow of Xitle, we have Traintopia that will be, that we talked about the special pre-order offer and also the demo copies that you will be receiving, as well as the June release timeframe. And then we have later in the year Tekkeno and Escape Tales, as well as Tawantinsuyu planned for October release.
There's another good thing to point out, which I want to make sure all the retailers know, is that Board and Dice is part of our demo program as well. So if there are games that, apart from Traintopia, if you want to get demo copies for your store, you can reach out to your GTS sales rep and let them know. The program, just in case anyone's not familiar with it, is you're able to buy 1 base game, no expansions, just the base game, 1 per storefront per year. So if you have multiple storefronts, you can buy 1 for each of your stores. You get it at 25% of SRP, and then we'll work with Board and Dice to credit that back on the back end for us. But it's a great opportunity for you if you want to have something on display or just have something in your demo library or anything like that, to be able to add those into your store, which is really good too. Awesome. Well, I want to echo, there's been a lot of comments that came through. So Derek said, thank you very much for making the Gamma promo packs available to shops that cannot attend Gamma. So, and then Scott Pinter said, I fully echo Darrow's comments as well. So that was really good. Kylie said, this is fantastic, which is awesome. And Chris Cobb said, thank you so much. Early demo copies are extremely helpful. It's all wrapped around that, right? I think, you know, as I mentioned at the beginning, is that this is a great opportunity from a retailer's perspective to have not just a piece of paper saying, this is the cool new game coming out. You actually have the game in your store and you're able to teach it and show it off. And from my experience, while yes, it is a really full drafting and tile laying placement game with Traintopia, it is pretty easy to teach and pretty simple to just flip the back of the box around and say, you know, here's kind of the rundown on it. But being able to have that in your stores ahead of time is really, really powerful. It's a really, really good tool. And in addition to that, also knowing that your orders will be guaranteed. So there's no allocation on any of it. So as long as you get your orders in by March 16th, that's a huge, huge thing, especially right now. We haven't really talked about it too much on the webinars yet, but with the impact of Chinese New Year, which was in February, of course, and then the impact of the coronavirus that has hit several of the Chinese manufacturers as well, there's been a lot of challenges over the last 3 or 4 weeks with publishers that are printing in China, getting their games either out of China, just from a logistics standpoint, or even getting them started and getting them moving. So the fact that this game, Traintopia, is not going to release until May, which is going to be the early release for the brick and mortar stores, as they mentioned, there's going to be a 2-week advance on that. we are going to get the games in this week or next week. So we're going to have them way in advance, which is an awesome advantage for all of the retailers, which is great. You don't have to worry about, any kind of, shipping delays or port delays or any outside factors. It does seem that every year there's one thing that hits the board game industry, right? Coronavirus this year, a couple of years ago, it was the Hanjin shipping crisis. It just seems like every year there's got to be somebody rolling the dice, Last year it was the tariffs, and it was kind of crazy, but
and we try as much as possible to of course plan things ahead of time. Like Scott was saying earlier, we have the release schedule set so that we know exactly when the planned release is, so that we can take these into account and not just have a plan B, but C, D, E, F, and G as well, so that we can get these games to you. And also the whole plan for this the program with Traintopia, and also in fact these webinars, is because we want to empower you as retailers to be able to sell these games. It is because of you that we are able to publish them. So we know the value that you add, and we want to do our part to make it easy for you to sell them, easy for you to get information about them, and then help promote these through our partnerships and our channels, so that the customers will come to you to buy the games.
Exactly, and we really want to hear your voice, guys. So, for example, we had the information that this is uncool that US needs to wait for the games after it will hit Europe. And we fixed that. And right now, even the US have the game slightly earlier. The next thing is that what Scott said, we are really working to get our games to distributors a long time before the street date, because we heard you that hitting the street date or not going to the street date because of any reason, like coronavirus or something like this, it's always hard, not only for us, but for you as well, because you are the final element of the chain who is gathering the orders from your customers. And you need to explain to the customers that something is not right. So we are trying to eliminate these weak elements to not give any chance to something hit you because of the manufacturer or our mistake. So this is our approach. And really, if you have any more information or any more ideas, just let us know. We really do like to hear your voice.
And I should also mention that the other reason why we want to have these games available early for you to be able to place pre-orders and getting the demo copies is because this also helps us in the forecasting. If this is a game that will do really well for you, well, we now have, first of all, we've guaranteed the first print run. We know that we've planned enough games that are already going to be available, enough so that we can guarantee your pre-orders. But also by being well prepared ahead of time, depending on the demand, we can now easily and early trigger actions on our end for reprintings and so forth, so that you don't have to wait long times between print runs and so forth.
Manuel had a quick question on, I'll let one of you guys answer this one because it's probably more legality wise than anything else, but he had asked, do you guys have a map program? And if not, you should. He's asking for one. And he says, we appreciate the help to the retailers and the storefronts. I know the answer to that, but I'll let you guys answer it because obviously you're both in a Polish entity situation and US entity situation.
So currently we do not have any map policies in place for any of our games. And a lot of that also has to do with, we want to, obviously right now we are talking to you as retailers in North America, and the legality and those things are different here from they are in other places. And we basically have the same policy worldwide, because there are some places where we can't enforce anything. In fact, we are not even legally allowed to say that, okay, well, this is you can't, even as a suggestion, right? So we basically keep the same policy worldwide as far as this goes. Now, what we want to do is we want in the greatest extent possible. We want to find ways to support you outside of that avenue. So one of the things here is, for example, to make sure that you get the early demo copies, that we guarantee your pre-orders, that you get access to it, early release, and so forth. That is our current approach. Of course, this is something that we are talking about all the time, and we are talking about more ways that we can support you. We know that online sales are a very direct competition to you in a way that you cannot easily compete with, right? It's something that takes sales away from you, while you have other costs related to the fact that you provide a way for a customer to come in, to see the game, to feel it, to look at it in person. You provide places for people to demo games, to sit down and enjoy the store and so forth. So we know that the online versus brick and mortar sales and the discounts that online retailers are offering, we know that is something that impacts you, and it's something that we want to continue to work with you and to find ways of improving that. Now, at the same time, we also want to make sure that whatever we promise, that it's not just going to be some idea. Basically, anything that we are saying that we're going to do is something that we have thought about carefully, so that it's sustainable for us, and so that you know that you can rely on whatever we are saying that we're going to do to help you in this regard.
Maybe I shouldn't say it. So sorry, Scott, if I'm doing a one step too far. But basically, I need to admit that we have a lot of questions from people who run some kind of Amazon sales in the US, but we do not want to give our games to such a people, because we really do appreciate the role which brick and mortar store do for the whole community and the whole business. And basically, in most case scenarios, we are just replying that sorry, but our policy is not going in front of this kind of activities. So basically, we are focused on supporting you guys more than doing one-time deal, one-time business. This is not something that is interesting for us.
Sure. Yeah, the map is always a tricky thing, right? And especially when you're dealing with a company that's not even based in the U.S. I mean, there's enough challenges of companies that are U.S. companies that, there's several states that fight it and have a lot of legal issues and things like that. So I do like the approach of, while we may not be able to control this piece of it, there are other things we can control, right? And in reality, I mean, GTS, we deal with hundreds of publishers, very, very, very few. Like I can literally count on one hand how many publishers this year have offered us the opportunity to guarantee pre-orders for a game if ordered by a certain date, and do something, with an early advance for that. It's a very, very small amount. So it is always a good advantage to take advantage of. Jason just said, thank you very much for thinking through your retail support. Yeah, I think that it says quite a lot about these guys. And that's one of the things that I always try to stress with our retailers. We, GTS, have very, very few exclusive partnerships. It's something that we try to make sure that the partnerships that we work on exclusively are things that are valuable to our retailers. And obviously, with the growth of Board and Dice over the last couple of years, they have just absolutely vaulted up into a leadership position, not just because of the great products they're making, but because of this mindset and because of how they are approaching the market. They're not just a random publisher in Europe sending games over to the US. They have Rainer here in the US, and he's on the West Coast out there. In fact, if anyone is near SaltCon, Rainer will be there, so you can come by and say hi to him there.
Me too.
Yeah, I saw Sean Wainwright was in so looking forward to seeing him.
Oh, good. Sean gets an extra gold star then today. So that's awesome. But no, it really is a mindset that, a publisher takes to say, we're not just making games. We're not just making products. We're aware of the challenges that the retail market is facing, and we're trying to do things to help with that and offset that. And that's a very professional mindset, and it's something that we want to help, propagate with all the retailers to make sure that y'all know about that, which is good. Sean just said wave. That's awesome. That's good stuff. He's got a great store out there. It's good stuff.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, that's all the questions that have come in right now. I really do appreciate it, guys. My final question for you, as always, if people have additional questions, what's the best way for them to reach out to Board and Dice directly?
You can send the questions directly to Rainer or me.
Okay.
We can share the addresses after our webinar here, or you can go to our boardanddice.com website and register your ticket in our customer service, and after that, I will personally take over the case and answer your question or provide the information as fast as I can. So basically, we have the policy that you will receive at least the first feedback in 24 hours after sending your message.
Awesome. And I just put, Rainer, I put yours and Irek's email into the chat as well, so people can reach out to you. And of course, if you have any questions for us, you can always reach out to your GTS sales rep. You can go to gtsdistribution.com, or you can email me directly. My email is just smorris@gtsdistribution.com. Happy to answer any kind of questions y'all have. But I think it's going to be a really good lead up into Gamma. Obviously, it's going to be a very exciting show for those that can attend. So we hope that you enjoy checking out Traintopia and some of the other Board and Dice products while you're there. Remember, get your pre-orders in before March 16th. That way you get your copies guaranteed. Again, if you are here live, we'll make sure that your sales reps have all the information so you can get a free demo copy of Traintopia sent as soon as it humanly is possible and it lands. Like I mentioned, it's according to UPS right now, it says tomorrow. So we'll see how fast that's going to happen. But it shouldn't be too long, which is awesome. So, and guys, thank you. I say this all the time in terms of thanking our publishers for the time that they take to talk to our retailers. But again, the mindset, the approach, the attitude is all phenomenal stuff. So really, really do appreciate it. And retailers,
well, guys,
thank you.
You are blood in our veins. So really, we should spend more time to talk with you. So it's always a pleasure.
Yep.
And thank you also to all the retailers that took the time to join us here. We really appreciate it.
Yes, thank you very much, guys.
It's always a busy time. It doesn't matter. There's no good day, no good time to take time away from the stores, but really do appreciate all the retailers taking their time. So, all right.
Oh, totally.
Until we see you next time, have a great week in your stores. Thanks so much for watching. Take care.
Thank you very much, guys.